Change can be met with stubbornness, revealing our pain and bitterness. This episode will be your guide to master the confidence necessary to embrace the change gracefully. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wow series. This is Father Bony Abraham here with you. Thank you for joining. Words of Wisdom, it's a series mainly discussing hope. And we have been discussing hope in a very particular place of change. And this particular place of change is actually a very painful place. It's not a change because we are so good, but it is a place of change because we have committed a sin or we have experienced a tragedy. My experience at times told me that people writing other people off because they did something they shouldn't have done. They acted on impulse. There is no second chance. You had a divorce. That's it. You cannot be a good husband, a good wife. You went through this work-safe issue in your workplace. You fell while you were stacking things in the shelf. You had a fall. You broke your arm. Your employer is fighting with you. And you want to be justly treated. You want to go back into work. But the employer says to you, no second chance. That's it. You are done. Is that what you believe? Have you ever felt like that? I have felt like that. I have been in places where I experienced I am coming across this brick wall. There are people who told me that, no, that's it. There is no way for you. You're done. This is dead end. If that is your experience, what I would like to share with you in this series, Wow series, is to help you gather in that time of change, in that time of crisis, and then rebuild ourselves to a better life or a new stage in life. There is always a second chance. And if it hasn't happened in my own life, as I said in the last episode, that I went through a crisis, if I hadn't believed in second chance, I would not be standing here and talking to you. One of my strong conviction that gospel always matters. But when I went through my crisis, at the very beginning stages of my crisis, I was really holding on to Christ, asking, does the gospel matters? When I say gospel, can still people go through passion and death? Can they rise again with a full, animated, spirit-filled life? Does it still matters? The Christian pattern of life still relevant? And in my experience, yes, we go through passion. And death is not the final word. The Christ is still alive. God is still alive. He is still working through people. And death is not the end. We go through passion and death to a new life. Not just a new life, with a new anointed, filled with the divine spirit into new mission, new territory. So do not lose heart. If you're going through a time of crisis, you just come out of a divorce, you just have a work-safe issue, you lost your job, you're sitting at home, your wife is judging you, your children are looking at you, you are a burden, or your husband is looking at you, I am winning the bread for the family and my wife is doing nothing. If you are feeling so insecure, or you may be a religious or a priest who is going through a crisis, a single person who is going through a crisis, and you are thinking, I cannot rebuild my life, there is no second chance. Hey, there is second chance, but we have to survive this time of valley. As I was explaining to you in the last episode, that we are tumbling down from the first mountain. Before we climb to the second mountain, we have to survive this valley. No one can tell us that the change is not happening to us. No one can stop us from being transformed. Of course it's painful. Of course it's fearful. Of course it's anxious. But with certain strategies, we can survive this time. So last episode, we talked about building an ark, creating a very deliberate existence, creating a very deliberate place where we choose the voices we hear. We only want to hear the voice of the gospel, that the Son of Man must die. That was the faith of Jesus. Every time he talks to the disciples, especially in the Gospel of Matthew, we read 3-4 times in chapter 16 and 17, 3 times Jesus says, the Son of Man must die. He has to go through persecution. Now, that is the foundational principles of change and transformation. We have to die. And that is what we read in the Gospel of John. Jesus tells, unless a grain of wheat falls down and dies, new life may not come up. It is okay to fall. There is a book I read, and I love a phrase that is being used in that book. It's called falling, but upward. We fall, not to destroy, not to backward, not that's the end. No, we fall, but we fall into something new. We die to new life. We surrender to gain. We become humble so that one day we can be exalted. So build an ark. That's what we discussed in the last episode. Creating a deliberate existence where voices of hope, voices of peace, and voices of faith is kept alive. And that's the only voices we listen. We don't listen to other voices. I like to discuss with you another strategy that helped me to survive a time of crisis, time of darkness in my life. And that is the principle of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. What does vulnerability means? Vulnerability comes from a Latin word. The noun word is vulna. Vulna means wound. The wound we have in our body. We get wounded. Vulnerare means, which is the verb, is to wound. So vulna means wound. Vulnerare means to wound. So vulnerability means that we are wounded. The capacity for physical, emotional wounding is called vulnerability. And we are in the first half of life. We are designing the outside of the cup. Our name and our prestige, our career, how I look as a priest, how well I preach, what are my ministries, very successful, my house, my wife, my children, my name, my game. I'm top of the world. From that, because of something happened in the work, a work-safe incident, a divorce, or anything that kind of really rock our life, we are wounded. Vulna. We are wounded. There is an opening in our lives. It was a fort. It was a mountain no one else could climb. It was a mountain where we were the kings. It was the designed first half. In the port, everyone looked, how beautiful is that priest? Look at him. Ho, ho. But there was a wound into our image. Our image is wounded. Our good name is tarnished. Everything we achieved is kind of fading away. We are wounded. Vulnera. Now, we can look at this wound in two ways. We can see this wound as a shameful factor. Oh, no. it's a shame. No, I don't want anyone to see. I hide. I escape. No. I'm perfect. Don't look at my wound. I'm hiding it. I'm plastering it. I'm covering it. I put makeup on it, like the base. Then I put another one, another foundation. I try to cover my pimples. I hide because it's a wound. That's one way to do it. The another way to treat it as a door. Of course, it is a wound, but it is a door. And in the time of crisis, initially I was very ashamed of my wounds. The tragedy brought a deep wound in my life. The crisis I experienced as a priest in my ministry created a wound. And I was very ashamed of it. I wanted to hide it. I don't want anyone to see it. No, who wants to see your wounds? I wanted to hide and pretend initially. But then I let go of my mask. I let go of my hands, which was covering that wound. I started to look at my wound and I started to acknowledge, yes, there is a wound. I am wounded. And that is the fact. And nothing changes. Whatever I do is not going to go away. It is there. The more I try to stuff it with things that are unnecessary, it is going to get really ugly. It is going to get decayed. But if I let it open, if I attend to it, if I clean it, if I look after it, if I accept as part of my life, then it may heal. But the journey of healing begins by accepting, yes, my own sin wounded me. This divorce wounded me. This work-safe issues wounded me. My partner, she wounded me. My husband wounded me. My boss wounded me. The priest in my parish, the religious, the people I trusted, they wounded me. I wounded them. I am a sinner. I never thought I could raise my hand against my wife. But now I have a AVO, apprehension, violence order against me. I am an abusive husband. I can't go to my church. I cannot go to my church because I am an abusive husband. There is a domestic violence order against me. I can't see my children. I'm in crisis. Everything I built has crashing down. This wound, yes, I'm upset, but I accept. After time of being upset, I enter into a time of acceptance. Then this wound becomes not a matter of shame, but it becomes a possibility. Every door, that is the principle of a door. When you have a door, what does it mean? There is a possibility. If you are in a room, there is no doors, there is no possibility. You are in a room and then you see a door. That is a possibility. The possibility of you going from one place to something else. So when I attend to my wound, when I see it as a door, it opens a possibility. What is the possibility? Yes, it is painful. Yes, this shows my sin. Yes, this shows how I went wrong. Yes, this shows the tragedy of my first half. But it also shows a possibility. If I ended through this wound, Valnera, if I ended through this wound, I may come out into something new, a new life. So my brothers and sisters, my next strategy for you is to be vulnerable. Let's look at an example from the scriptures. Last episode we discussed Moses, how he went and created an ark when he had a crisis in Egypt. He committed a sin, murder, but he was still passionate about his people. He thought there is no second chance. I'm a murderer. I have the desire to save the people, and I just kind of destroyed my own life. No, there is no second chance. I'm done with this. That could be Moses. And what did he do? He ran away. He went all the way to this Midian, and he was there building an ark, getting a wife, mindful. But then there is something beautiful happens to him. When he is settled away from all the distractions, all the voices of accusation, when he was in that desert, he sees something there. A burning bush. But Moses was so attracted, captivated. Maybe it spoke to something that was happening to you. A lot of the time, the nature speaks to us. Not because the nature is actually trying to communicate something, but because something is happening to me. For example, I come to this place, beautiful place, waterfall, running streams and trees. I come from a place of so much stress in my work in the city. I come here, and as soon as I come here, I feel like peaceful. I feel like these streams of waters touching my heart and kind of giving me sort of tranquility. Is it because of the power of the environment? Yes, it is, but it is also partly what I am going through. So maybe Moses is going through something. There is a burning desire in him to be the one who wants to do something for his people who is under slavery in Egypt. However, his impulsivity, his kind of passionate behavior got him in trouble. And what does he see? He saw a burning bush. It's a bramble bush. If you look at here, there are certain trees and plants with so much thorns. You touch them, it hurts you. It was a bramble bush. Nobody wants to go to a bamboo bush. Nobody wants to touch a plant which is full of thorns. And that was the feeling of Moses. I have all this passion. I want to save the world. I want to be the guy who liberate Israel from Egypt. But I am a bramble bush. Nobody wants to touch me. I have this impulsivity. I'm so weak. I'm so weak. And what does he see? Upon this bramble bush, upon this thorny plant, there is a fire. And that fire does not consume the thorny bush. This is something really close to the gospel. And this is gospel. That upon my weakness, when the fire of God comes, it doesn't destroy me, but it burns. It uses me. It lives upon me. So this burning bush talks to Moses. Maybe we are trying to analyze Moses' mind now. Maybe he has accepted that I have this passion within me, but sometimes I'm impulsive. I made a mistake. But when I look at this burning bush, I am being vulnerable. I can see how God, His power, His fire can come upon a thorny bush, and it doesn't kind of destroy it, but it still burns. So Moses is actually maybe getting this conviction that if God's fire comes upon me, upon my wounding, upon my pain, upon my thorns, then it may be a second chance. All I need to do is be vulnerable. And what does God ask Moses? Take off your shoes. What is shoes represents? It is hiding. It is kind of masking his feet touching the earth. It's a sign of vulnerability. Come and feel me. Accept yourself. Touch the earth. Be vulnerable. I mean, with shoes, I could walk through these mountains and rocks easily. I can climb up through the streams with my shoes because I'm protected. If there is no shoe, I'm so careful. There are a lot of thorns. There are a lot of sharp edges of the rocks. I'll be very careful. And that's what God wants. Being vulnerable. God wants Moses, hey, I know you are hurting. I know you created an ark. But if you allow me, I will be a fire on your weaknesses that brought you out of the first mountain. I will be the fire on your issues and tragedies that made you break the pot. I will be a fire. I will not destroy you. You will not lose yourself. But I will burn over you. And there is hope. You survive with me. All you need to do is take off your shoes. Be vulnerable with me. Show me your wounds so I can be a fire upon your wounds, so I can attend to it. And that is why 1 Corinthians we read, St. Paul says, God's weakness is powerful than human strength. What is human strength? My life, my job, my wife, my career. These are all human strength. What is God's weakness? God's weakness is, I want to be in relationship with you. I want you. And when we come to the valley, we realize it's not the first half. It's not the power and the might I have. But it is actually the God who wants me for himself. And I can see it now because I'm not in the first mountain basking in the glory, but I'm in the valley, wounded, ashamed. And here I hear God comes to me. Hey, take off your shoes. Show me your wound. Let me be a fire on you. So my dear brothers and sisters, if you're going through a crisis in the valley, and if you have built an ark protecting yourself, the next thing I would encourage you from my own life is to be vulnerable. Show your wound. Let the fire of God come upon that wound, and may you begin to believe there is passion, there is death, and that's not the end, but there is resurrection. God bless you. And I pray that you may experience a time of hope until I see you next time. We'll see you again in the next episode, discussing another strategy to survive in a time of transition. God bless you.
You can't always.
This is the death.
Remarkably
Turn back towards God. Rise up.